Good evening and welcome to Main Street Sports. Ray Halbrook here with Live Stream STL. Hope everybody's having a great, what's today? Today is Wednesday. Today's Thursday already. My goodness, it's Thursday. And we've got our good friend Jeff Whitener. He is out tonight, but I do have another great friend here, an announcer friend of ours here, Coach Lee Richardson. He's going to be stepping up and being our leader of the pack, if you will, there, Lee. How you doing, Mr. Lee?
Doing great, Ray. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, man.
We're going to be covering today's JCAA, the preview of the basketball season for boys and girls, both large and small schools. So we're here live from Peddlin' Pie. Few folks coming in and out here, grabbing a pizza, checking out some bikes, and I also have our good friend Nathan Gertz here. Nathan, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good. Glad to be back.
Yeah, man. It's going to be great to have you give us some insights on things. You've got a pretty good grasp, I guess, just as much as we do. But I mean, on the radio side, you get a lot more of the in-depth and detailed interviews and things with the coaches and stuff. And so we appreciate you being with us today. And we're going to get things started here, and go ahead, Mr. Lee. We're just going to turn it right over to you.
Yeah, you bet. We're really excited about the 21-22 basketball season. It just seems like, for whatever reason, everything feels like it's a little bit more back to normal, and all the players and coaches seem really jacked up for this season. So, I'm just excited to see everybody get out there. We have a few games here in the area, kicking off tomorrow night even. Yep. And then next week, even more, and then a lot of the early season tournaments coming in here. So I'm just excited to see the kids out there at full strength, and just, there seems to be fewer things standing in our way right now. So Nathan, what are you looking for this season from basketball?
I'm curious to see how teams handle 20-game schedules again, because there were a lot of teams that you go back and you look, they didn't get a chance to do that. There were plenty of teams that had to take 2 weeks off because of quarantine. So right. I'm curious to see how they handle that from a stamina standpoint. I also think that it's kind of funny, on the boys' side of things, there are a lot of returners for these Jefferson County schools. On the girls' side, there's a lot of great senior talent from last year that has to be replaced. So right. You're going to get a youth movement in one area, and on the other side, there's a lot of veteran guys trying to really build on what they did last year. It'll be fascinating to see what they can accomplish.
That's right. And going back again to last year, how much credit do we need to give these players and coaches and administrators for everything thrown at them and still able to pull off a season one way or another for these kids? And to your point about returners and newcomers, I think the conference is as competitive as it's ever been. We have, honestly, and we're going to get into this as we go through the small school and large school side, boys and girls. I don't know if there's a clear-cut favorite, where you could just say they're definitely going to pull it off this year on any of them necessarily. We'll get into that more here in a little bit. But just credit again to the coaches and players last year for dealing with what they did.
Mm-hmm, definitely. They had to battle through some adversity, and now we'll get the normal kinds of adversity this year, just the on-court stuff.
Yeah, and there's plenty of that, to be sure. But yeah, with that, we're excited to bring you this preview tonight, and we're going to kind of go through 4 segments, if you will, and we're going to go small school first, and we're going to cover the small school girls, and then the boys, and then we'll do the large school girls and boys. So with that being said, Ray, we're going to turn to the small school girls, and in no particular order, we're going to go with the St. Pius girls first. And Nathan, we know that they lost a great high school girls basketball player in A.J. Agers. They also lost Peyton Baker. Coach Portell is got a soccer team that's in the Final Four tomorrow.
A little busy this weekend.
The day of their first game. So with all that being said, what are you looking for from the St. Pius girls this season?
I think the fascinating thing, of course, is that you lose one of the best players in program history in A.J. Agers, but you also lose, 60% of your offense just from that one player. They really leaned on her to go out and give them at least 15 points every single night, really at least 20 every night. It's going to be a lot different this year. They're going to have to find the offense in some facet. The one thing that I think will still be consistent about this team is how good they are on defense. They're aggressive. They've hung their hat on it the last couple of seasons, and they've got one of the best on-ball defenders, I think, in the entire county in Riley Capozzo. She is going to be such a handful if she becomes a player that can beat you on offense, too, because she's already generating a lot of takeaways and denying your best offensive player every night on defense for St. Pius.
Yeah, Capozzo, now 5'5", is that being a little generous? Maybe?
5'5" on a good day.
7 points last year with Eggers gone, Baker gone. With her skill set and ability to create offense off of her defense, I think she'll be a double-figure scorer this year. She also leads the team in assists, obviously. But over 4 steals a game, that's a whopping number, and may just go up. But I think she's kind of a low-key Player of the Year candidate maybe on the small school girls side.
I think she's going to be a serious threat because we're at that point now as a junior where there's been a lot of reps in place that you would think would make her a better shooter, would make her a better point guard running the offense, would make her a better attacking offensive player. So if that happens and you get her moving into a territory where she can average about double figures, not only does that boost you in terms of trying to replace the A.J. Eggers portion of your offense, but it really does make you just more of a fearsome defensive team. The idea that she could be even better than the 4 steals per game, I'm sure it's making a lot of coaches talk about take care of the basketball in the half court when you play St. Pius.
And the defense, as you mentioned, is going to keep them in a whole bunch of games where they're able to just hang around, even if they're outgunned a little bit offensively. So I think St. Pius, I won't speak for you, I think is probably one of the favorites on the girls' small side.
I think they can definitely contend. I do think they ran into a situation, I think it's the case this year on the schedule too, where their game with Herculaneum came very early in the schedule. And Aaron Portell said it, we were not prepared to play that good a team that early in the year. They didn't have their mind right for that night, and it was a loss that ultimately did cost them in conference play. So being ready for that particular matchup, which will be on their home floor this year, that's going to be key.
Yep. And as we mentioned, they have a game tomorrow night. High school basketball is here, and we're looking forward to it. And they have a home game with DeSoto, and we'll talk about DeSoto later in the show. But that'll be interesting to kind of see, how they line up with what we're thinking right now, and certainly as we talk about DeSoto later, what they may be bringing to the table this year. So that's St. Pius, and to continue with the small school girls, we'll go to Herculaneum next, as you just mentioned. And I guess the headline, the kind of conventional wisdom headline is Paige Fowler graduates. And, Fowler, what a great player in Herculaneum girls basketball history she was, and now she's playing up in the next level up at Principia College in Illinois. And so that's a big, big loss for Coach Blair. But they do have some things coming back, I think. So what do you see for Herculaneum Black Cat ladies this year?
Yeah, when I was talking about the theme of at the girls' level, it's going to be a lot of new faces, replacing a lot of seniors. Start with A.J. Eggers, now you go to Paige Fowler. Yeah. It'll keep on rolling down the line. Emily Weesey being gone, too, will also be a hurt because she really stepped up on offense last year. They are going to obviously cause people some problems on nights by just throwing it over the top to Macy Pilliard inside and letting her go to work. I've seen some games last year where she could put 20 and 12 on the board just because they could just throw it over the top to her. The thing that Riley Blair has been searching for the last couple of years is guard play. That's the thing that they need to step up this year more than ever because they are now down 2 front court starters, 2 all-conference front court players. So if there was ever a year for somebody to break out and be more of a big-time player in their backcourt, this would be the year.
And I think that player may be Maddie Lawson, the point guard, who we saw several times last year, did really nice things at times. And so can she make that progression and kind of take that onto her shoulders where, I need to run the team now? Because so many times in the past, Paige, great forward skills, could shoot it pretty well, obviously a good post-up game. But they had to turn to her to handle the ball a lot. So I think that's a great point. I'm looking for maybe Lawson to step up. And they have other players, something I just found out. They also have a nice transfer coming in from Festus, a player named Taylor Thompson, a guard, who should help them out a lot as well.
Yeah, I liked watching Taylor play last year over at Festus. She was one of a number of athletic guards that you could ask to play a little bit in the front court too because she's got some length. I will say, kind of like St. Pius, we're talking so much about the offense because the defense is such a given with Herky. That full court press that they have is just it terrorizes people when it's on. And players like Maddie Lawson, they already are really good in that regard. It's a question of what they will give this team offensively. They're a lot like Pius in that they're going to be in a lot of 35-34 kind of games, and it's a question if you can grit it out at the very end.
Taking care of the basketball, which allows you to get it to Pilliard in the post, and then maybe once you have that established, kick it out to some shooters, which they have some shooting as well. So we think Herculaneum will be in the mix for maybe another small school championship. Maybe not a lock like it was the last few years, but definitely up there.
I think the field's more open for sure, but that's just because everybody is so young this season. But yeah, they're definitely, if you spend year in and year out knowing what Herculaneum can do, throwing it inside and playing that press defense, and they haven't been able to stop it, they're still going to be pretty effective, I think.
And on Livestream STL on Saturday at the shootout down in Farmington, Herculaneum opens play up. I forget their opponent, Ray.
I think it's Scott City, isn't it?
It is Scott City.
Scott City, so they have a game, I think, 4 o'clock on Saturday.
Let me throw up the let me find it.
So that'll be everybody's first chance to kind of see, what Herculaneum is bringing to the table this year. And I'm thinking a lot of people are intrigued by that question with the era of Fowler and Weesey as well, now over.
Exactly.
While Ray hunts that up,
I am.
I'm going to talk about one more person, and that's Livestream STL's own Maria Castillo, who's moving up to varsity as well. So Maria, a very scrappy, hard-nosed defender, add to that defensive part that you were talking about just a minute ago, Nathan. So, and then also on Monday we'll have Herculaneum at home against Windsor, another Livestream STL broadcast.
It will.
So while Ray searches for that,
Got it all.
We're
all done.
All right, you got it.
Moving on.
Oh my! I can't see what you're looking at, but
That's
cool. All right, we got Saturday and Monday covered, and we have St. Pius and Herculaneum. Let's move on. The next team we'll talk about will be St. Vincent Lady Indians, and this is a team we got to see last year once or twice on Livestream STL. I do know their point guard graduated, Genevieve Light. Their post player, Lacey Best, graduated. I think one of the Schwartz girls, I think Mary, also graduated. So that's 3 pretty good players from a pretty good team. They did have a few starters back. There is some depth coming back. Will St. Vincent be as good, and who may have to step up for them this year?
Yeah, that's going to be the question. It's weird how similar these teams can be because the question is who you replace on the offensive end, but I still feel pretty confident on the flip side that the Indians will play great defense.
Oh, no doubt.
They were another team that was real scrappy, and when they go to full court pressure, look out. It could be just absolute havoc. I think they will continue to play well there, and I think it is, again, just sort of a feeling out process in the first week or two. Who is the person that comes out and gets offense? There are teams where young players show up in practice and immediately you're like, yeah, they're going to be our best offensive player. We haven't been in practice, so we don't know if that's happened yet, but in the games at least, it's going to be a feeling out process with St. Vincent in particular on who gets the buckets.
Yep, absolutely. And early in the year, we know usually defense is ahead of offense, so pretty important for them to figure that out pretty quickly. A few names that I remember from last year were Reese Barber, Anna Schwartz, Addie Cates that got playing time in the games that we saw. So obviously they're going to be relying on them and their experience moving into this season. So that's St. Vincent Lady Indians, and I think they're kind of, where in the last few years maybe they were, right there near the top with some of those other teams, even battling Herculaneum some. This year I kind of have them more in the middle of the pack in the beginning until we see who steps up.
Yeah, I think that they can definitely contend. It's going to be a question of somebody showing up and starting to knock down shots at a consistent rate, because in getting to watch them the last couple of years, it seems like they're locked in a defensive battle night in and night out.
Right. Absolutely. Great point. In the game we saw that they played versus Perryville last year, that's exactly what happened. Just couldn't quite generate enough offense, even though they played a pretty good defensive game. So moving on, small school girls, we're about halfway through. The next team we'll talk about is one that I think could take a really big jump forward, and that's the Grandview Lady Eagles. And, it doesn't end with this young lady, but it certainly starts with her. We have to talk about Annabelle Wakeland. They're 6'2", kind of do everything post player. Modern-day basketball requires players to kind of play not just back to the basket, but kind of inside and out. And this is a 6'2" junior basketball player who can kind of do it all.
Yeah.
And talk about her and what you see from Grandview prospects this year.
I remember 2 years ago in the postseason when they're playing Herculaneum in district semifinals, and she came off she had been coming off the bench all year, averaged maybe 4 or 5 points a game. She would grab rebounds and block shots. Of course she would. She was 6 foot. She was taller than everybody. She had this monster night. She was hitting turnaround fadeaway shots. She was posting up and scoring on Paige Fowler and company. She ended up with like 21 points, I think, off the bench. And I said, will that player show up every night? She did last year. And she got even better because you mentioned she's able to step out and handle the basketball for a team that really didn't have a true point guard last year. She shot like 50% from three, so when they got her open, she could knock down jump shots. Yeah, she's become an all-around player to go with being a force in the post. And that is the first reason in talking to Tim Winkler, their head coach, the other day, he feels like they're going to make a big jump, is that she is one of the rare experienced players who had an excellent season last year.
Right.
4 of the 5 all first-team all-conference players are gone in the JCA small school division. She's the one that's coming back.
Yep. And there's some pieces coming back with her. Natalie Moore, a hard-nosed guard that I was impressed by last year. Lily Patterson got a lot of experience last year. So this is not maybe the Grandview. They were good a few years ago. I don't think this is the Grandview of the last couple of years. I see them making a big jump in the standings and their performance as well.
That team 2 years ago that gets to a district championship game was really guard-oriented. They had a bunch of senior backcourt players. It's going to be a little different this year because they're older this time around again, yes, but mostly they have front court players to the point that Natalie Moore was running a lot of point last year, and Tim Winkler says she'll even admit she's not a point guard.
Right.
The big addition is another Wakeland to this team, Catherine Wakeland, a freshman who is going to be their starting point guard, and they are already raving about what she can do as a ball handler and as a shooter. I feel like we know that we're going to get somebody who could score 17 points a game, but if Catherine Wakeland shows up and is knocking down shots and scoring too to go with running the show and playing good defense, Grandview becomes a very dangerous team right away.
And how about this as a freshman point guard? 4 or 5 assists a game and maybe just half as many turnovers, 2-1 margin. That's a big success right there without any points from your point guard position with the pieces she'll have around her.
Yeah, all you got to do really at that position first and foremost is take care of the basketball, run the offense, and play good on-ball defense. If you start to knock down a bunch of shots and score points on your own along the way, it's a bonus. It just makes the team better.
Yeah, I think we were talking before the show. I think we think Grandview's an intriguing team that we're going to keep an eye on as this year goes on. So moving on to the next squad is Crystal City Lady Hornets. And Coach Ken Jones is back for year number 20. Not to age you, Ken, but congrats to him and all of his success that he's had over the years. And I think, won a district title 2 years ago, and last year didn't quite generate, it was an up and down year, a lot of COVID pauses, a lot of adversity that way. Just never gotten a flow and a rhythm last year. But they do have an intriguing trio of players who are now juniors, I believe, and we'll talk about them as we go. But I think Crystal City is definitely going to be in the mix there as well on the small side.
I think it's hard not to say that this team will finally break through and play well in conference play. They're sort of an anomaly. They would struggle in the regular season, and then they got to the district tournament and turned it on. And you realized that's how good their opposition was in the regular season because this tandem of 2 of the juniors you're talking about, Molly Clemens and Kate Eisenbeis, they're terrific. They're really, really good players. Clemens is a excellent backcourt player. She's a pest on defense. And then Kate Eisenbeis is an excellent rebounder, a good, strong player in the post. So, yeah, they've got a really good tandem that you would think would have produced more regular season wins. I think that'll happen this year, just being older. And, I think that they're going to be able to really cause a lot of havoc for people this year because they could have arguably been the best team in their district again last season. The team that they beat 2 years ago, Viburnum, beat them last year, and Viburnum's best player is now up at Jefferson College in Hillsboro from last season. So I think the door is definitely open for Crystal City to not just continue the postseason success they've had, but then turn that into wins in conference play.
Yeah, and Coach Jones, working with him for a couple of years there, he plays to, that end goal. We're going to be at our best at the end of the year. So if we see progress this year, and one player that I want to mention who's also a junior along with Clemens and Eisenbeis is Abby Edwards, who's this do-everything guard who she hustles, she scores, she facilitates, she definitely guards. And I think Abby's kind of a crucial third piece. It kind of fills in the gaps between Molly Clemens and her athleticism and scoring ability, and Kate Eisenbeis and her work in the post. And Molly, going back to her, I think she's kind of a little bit of an underdog maybe for the player of the year as well on the small side.
Yeah, if she can come through as more of an offensive piece, I think that'd be a huge lift, because they do have to replace Annie Waits, who was a double-figure scorer and had a great senior season. So if they can find that on the offensive end, if as a whole they can shoot it a little better, they haven't been a great perimeter shooting team, it's going to build on the things that they already do extremely well.
Yeah, Kaylee Krieg graduated a couple of years ago, and that kind of three-point shooting went with her on the girls' side. But now they've been rebuilding with this youth movement, and now they're juniors, and probably time to see that next step in their progression. So that's Crystal City, and we think they'll be in the mix kind of in the middle of the pack there, and possibly a chance to break up even further. And finally, last but not least on the girls' side, let's talk about Jefferson R7. And kind of an up-and-down season last year. They have a new coach. I believe this will be their third coach in 3 years. But Stevie Holdinghausen, who definitely has familiarity there, steps into the post. But they did graduate some seniors. Lainey Smith, of course, their leading scorer, is gone. So what are we looking for from Jefferson this season?
It's going to be fascinating. They're probably the team with the most unknowns, because Lainey Smith was the best offensive weapon that they had the last 2 years. That's I think this program's all-time leading scorer. And you also lose Katrin Couture, who, for everything she's done in softball, she was a really, really good defender and rebounder. So they are really going to be starting over and working some new faces in there. I'd be curious to see who steps up and makes plays for them. I do imagine that they're going to, because last year they really did. They tried to hang their hat on defense, like a lot of these teams in this division, and I would think they'll probably go out there and try to do that as they work their way into settling on the offensive end.
I was talking to Jeff Whitener, who couldn't be here tonight because Jefferson's having their girls and boys jamborees tonight, and kind of threw some names at me. He said Peyton Weiler and Kirsten Vandeven, give them some size, and he thinks maybe Gabby Beffa and Reagan Kennedy could be their starting backcourt. And he threw another name at me. There's a younger player, I think a freshman, Leah Ott, if that name rings a bell. That is
Colby Ott,
Colby's younger sister. And if there's the same kind of athleticism in the blood there, she should be an intriguing player to watch coming up there too. But I think what you said, defense and rebounding, because I'm not sure where the offense comes from early for them, and that could be their struggle. So, hang your head on stopping people and, securing the rebound, ending that possession, and then coming down and taking care of the basketball.
And defense, in turn, as we've talked about with some of these ball hawk guards, like Riley Capozzo, like Molly Clemens, it turns into easy offense.
Right.
It's something you don't have to coach. So we'll see if maybe Leah becomes that player. I know she might be as good at her brother is at baseball as she is at softball, because she had an all-conference year. Wow. So we'll see if she keeps that going in basketball this season.
Good deal. All right, well, that's our small school girls wrap-up, and we will be back in just a couple minutes, and we'll talk about small school boys in the JCAA. And you're watching Main Street Sports on Livestream STL. Be right back.
Petalin Pie, bringing wood-fired Neapolitan-style pizza, Italian wines, cold beer and soda, as well as Trek, Diamondback, and Redline bicycles to the Twin City area. Petalin Pie at 514 Bailey Road in Crystal City. Stop by or give us a call at 636-638-1080. Ride to eat, eat to ride. A pizza shop serving bicycles. Petalin Pie.
Hi, I'm Lawrence Krodinger with Home by SMCI. Whether it's residential or commercial, we have the right products for you. Global Plasma Solutions will attack your bacteria, mold, viruses, even help dust in your house. They install easily, less than 45 minutes, and it's invaluable for the rest of your life. If you're interested in any of the products that we do offer, give us a call at 636-337-4444 or send us an email at service@homebysmci.com.
Wiley Agencies have locations in Festus and Arnold to serve you. We offer home, vehicle, business, and life insurance, as well as investments and much more. We utilize a custom approach to make sure you, your family, and assets are properly protected. Give us a call today for great rates and savings at 636-764-6294 for the Festus office or 636-333-9903 for the Arnold office. We'll be happy to review your current coverage or just talk sports. You can also email us at SeanWiley@allstate.com.
You know, I do this for the love of the kids. I do it for the love of the coaches and the ADs because there's not enough high school coverage in the St. Louis area. There's just not. Once again, I get to keep my relationships with, you know, guys like you and a lot of the other great coaches and administrators and former athletes. And that's one of the cool things that we're going to do here, too, is, you know, I've been fortunate covering some great coaches and great kids, but, you know, the Caravan is, you know, I wasn't letting it die. And sure enough, we're here now, and you know, the reboot is in full effect.
And we are back here. We're going to jump right straight in here to the small school boys, and going to turn it back over here to Lee. Mr. Richardson, Coach, take it away, my friend.
All right, we're going to start with the defending champion, the St. Vincent Indians, and this is a really interesting case. They've won it the last few years, I believe, and interesting from a couple perspectives. One, just another year of losing some really talented seniors. John Wibbenmeyer comes to mind from last season, great player, and also Coach Valeroy, now in his, I think, 29th, maybe 30th season. He is getting close to that. Had a little bit of a health scare in the offseason, but looks like he's good to go for this year. So
he's up there with Ken Jones.
Yeah,
right?
Well, yeah. Ken is catching up very quickly.
There he is.
So, but yeah, St. Vincent's always solid, always well coached, but have they lost too much? So we'll start with St. Vincent Indians, Nathan.
I think it is kind of fascinating because I think we said that about them going into last year, honestly, and they went out and you had the guy in John Wibbenmeyer that puts up 17 a game. Coach Fowler, I'm always impressed with how well he gets his offenses to play. And they're going to have one guy back in Evan Duelda who averaged 11 points, 3 rebounds, almost 3 assists a game. So that's a starter who made an impact last year. And I think if they settle in on that end, I think that this group, obviously, you probably don't get to get on the floor and play offense unless you're showing that you can play defense in practice. And we'll see if that's the case for the Indians.
And Evan's a nice player. Forgot about him. We saw their JV last year. Really solid squad. They're just growing them down there, and that defense, that 1-3-1. Yes, they can play man-to-man as well, but that 1-3-1 matchup is so tough to diagnose for most teams who don't see that and don't see it coached as well as St. Vincent does it. I guess the question is, can they stay on top another season in the JCAA small?
I think it's completely possible. I will say there is probably a little more veteran experience down the line in this league than what they've had to deal with the last couple of years. But there were older teams from St. Pius and Jefferson the last 2 years that St. Vincent got the better of. So I feel like it's one of those situations that we'll have to kind of wait and see whether or not somebody takes the crown from the king.
And we'll move on to the next team in the JCAA small boys side that may be able to do that, and that's St. Pius ex-Lancers. And, you know, this is a team that, they lost a couple more seniors from last year. Lost the big guy, lost Michael Bollinger. But they have a ton of returning experience. They have a range of athletes on different sizes and shooting and a lot of different things. What are we going to see from St. Pius this year, and can they be that team to maybe dethrone St. Vincent?
I think it's completely possible. They were excellent 2 years ago, obviously, when Chris Miller came in and took over that job. They had just incredible talent for the next level. And last season, they kind of became a bully ball team where they trotted really 2 centers out there in Nate Rubel and Xander Parson and a power forward in Mike Bollinger. Maybe a little more guard-oriented finally this year because Nate Rubel comes back and will be somebody that you can trust in the post. 11 points, almost 7 rebounds a game. If he gets better as a shooter and we see more shooters and guards develop on offense, they're going to play tough on defense. That's what they did last year. They tried to grind you they tried to grind your bones to make their bread. I saw a game at Grandview last year where they got the lead with about 2 minutes to go and then just sat on the ball in half court. They will try to beat you in low-scoring games. So if some shooting shows up, that's going to turn them into a really excellent team.
Well, I think this year they have a couple players on the wings in Dabrian Moss, the lefty, and Patrick Flanagan, the righty, who are going to really make those jumps. I think Dabrian's a little bit more of a driver. He can shoot as well. Flanagan, a great three-point shooter who also has some point guard skills. And also Eli Hunt, a 6'6" player who can jump out of the gym. And I don't know that we've seen, anywhere near the best out of Eli Hunt that we could possibly see this year. And there's a lot of other talent and depth behind those guys. I think this is going to be – I don't think it'll look at all like that grinded-out team last year. I think it's going to be more like that talented team from 2 years ago, but maybe play even faster than that.
They've got somebody that can be used on both ends of the floor as just a terrific all-around athlete. They're so happy Dabrian is healthy, finally. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned it, second half of the year, they started to work Thomas more in, and you could just tell he's got a sweet stroke. They need to get him the basketball and let him shoot it.
Yeah, and again, go back to now the guy that maybe makes it all go, Nate Rubel, who, with all that experience and all that athleticism and all that strength. And, it's scary to me. If it all comes together, they could be a really, really good basketball team this year.
I think they can contend as much as they did 2 years ago, that's for sure.
Yep. Okay, moving on. And the other team that Nathan just mentioned, kind of in contention there at the top possibly, Jefferson R7 Blue Jays. You have Coach Breeze back. You have Drew Breeze, the shooter, back. But you did lose Colby Ott and some other really good seniors. I can think of a few names, Whitener, Mason Wilson, Schnitzler. And so kind of a lot of experience exited the door there, just like it did the year before that. These schools just seem to reload more than they do rebuild. But having said that, this year, what's going to go with Drew Breeze and his ability to shoot the basketball? It's going to help them stay in contention in the JCA Small.
Yeah, Sean Breeze has normally built his teams on those big athletic wings. The guys you talked about all kind of had the same body type where they could step out and handle it, but they could really run up and down the floor, and they were a pretty bigger physical. Meanwhile, Drew Breeze is a true guard in the sense of that he can handle the basketball and shoot it. There was that stretch very early in the year where combination of the football team having the deep run to the Final Four and Colby Ott being a little banged up that he sat out a couple games, and Drew Breeze played his best offensive basketball of the year during that stretch. Feel like they need to go back to what they were doing in that time because he was able to knock down some shots and show what he could do. The other thing you have to worry about is Colton Richardson, who is a big dude that has shown he's comfortable as a jump shooter, and if he gets better at it, is going to be a really deadly offensive weapon.
Yeah, I remember Colton, but he played an AAU team with my son back when he was in 8th grade, playing up to 16U, and had a lot of skill then, and now he's grown into this 6'4", very powerful frame and nice inside-out kind of game. He can shoot the ball, like you said. I think they're really going to rely on him for a lot of rebounding this year and going to need everybody else to pitch in there as well. And also kind of going back to what you said, maybe a little bit of a slow start. It's kind of been sort of a trademark for them. They start slow, but then they just build momentum as the season goes on. So a slow start this year doesn't necessarily mean bad things later for them.
No, they caught fire second half of the year after being, I think, like 3-7 to get things started.
Yeah.
So as long as they find their groove when it matters, you always have to worry about Jefferson.
Absolutely. Okay, so halfway through this JCA Small Boys, moving now to a team that has got a lot of depth this year and maybe some good prospects to increase that 6-win total from last year. That's a Herculaneum Black Cats. Coach Jarvis, he's pretty excited about all what he is coming back. Now, he did lose Isaiah Brace, who had a great senior season last year, and some other talented guys. But what are we looking for from the Black Cats this season?
I mean, you talked about the depth. I think they're probably the most experienced team in the conference this year just because so many guys who are still sophomores and juniors played last year off the bench. Jason Jarvis made sure that guys like Dylan Jarvis and Dylan Black, they got as many minutes as they could possibly hope for. You bring back your leading scorer in Dallin Fuller, who, if he puts it all together, we're talking about somebody that last year, 11.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 2.5 block shots per game. If he really puts it all together, he can be a force of nature. And that's before you get to, I think, the dark horse candidate for Player of the Year in the conference, which is Gabe Watkins. I remember watching him play for the first time last year and thinking, that's a college basketball player, and he was just a sophomore. He's got terrific bounce. He handles the ball extremely well. He seems to make every right decision. He hustles and plays hard on defense. If he figures it out as a scoring threat, offensively. You're talking about a guy that averaged 4 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 2 steals per game last year. I think he could emerge as one of those just incredible all-around players in the league this season.
I think we're going to see Gabe Watkins make the biggest jump of a player on the small school side, boys, and at the most important position at point guard spot. And I think that's why Coach Jarvis is so excited about putting these other guys around him. And so we get a really early look tomorrow night when they host Bayless. And that won't be an easy task. I think Bayless is on the way up with Coach Asselson and what he's doing up there. So we'll see if Herculaneum can kind of break out of that funk they've been in the last couple of years and take that step forward. And all signs are pointing to that.
Yeah, I've a lot of growth from that team at the end of last year. Even if it didn't show up in wins, they were competitive in just about every game. I think that translated into more wins this season.
You bet. Okay, next on our docket will be the Crystal City Hornets. So Crystal City lost a lot of production from last year. And obviously you have to talk about losing Donovan Tulloch at about 20 points a game, Carson Short at 15 points a game. And we, people look at scoring so much, but also Logan Anderson, who didn't score a ton of points, but led the team in rebounds, assists, blocks, I believe steals as well, to kind of that do-everything guy with a 6'3" body. And so those are 3 really big pieces to lose. Can Crystal City kind of overcome that? And if so, how will they do that this season?
They're another team that is going to have to get the new faces acclimated pretty quickly because you're right. That was quietly one of the best offensive teams in the county last year because your top guy is somebody that, he shows up and Donovan Tulloch had 15 points when he walked into the gym. And you add that to Carson Short who could score. The versatility of Logan Anderson, he was maybe my favorite player to watch last year because he could do everything from the power forward spot. Yeah, they do have Nate Pruneau coming back, who they, I think, trust as a perimeter shooter. Like to see him be more of a scoring threat. And then they've got a big body in Callaway Dashner, who was a starter last year, that could certainly find a way to battle with guys inside. I do feel like they're probably going to, though, need some new face, some younger guy like a Kyle Schomburg to show up and have an impact right away.
So Nate Pruneau, great leader. He's going to that part. I don't think you worry about with that team, where he's just a junior last year, and now it's kind of his team, him and Callaway. I think 2 of those faces, Clayton Rusin and Ian Kern, who are now juniors. I can't even believe that. I can't remember those guys in junior high. It seems like yesterday, but they're going to have to step up as juniors. Ian's a great shooter. Clayton could be that Logan Anderson kind of guy, maybe. They're going to have to step up along with Kyle, as you mentioned. And then I think they have some intriguing sophomores. Camden Mays, Camden Bolton, great athletes at the guard position, are going to have to move up to varsity. And also I thought it was, Coach Tesserow, that zone press. I think that's a way they're going to have to create some offense. When you lose so much offense, if they can be effective there and they have the athletes to do it, maybe that helps fill that gap.
You can, I'm sure, ask Donovan Tulloch, and he'll tell you he got a lot of his points last year on runouts, on layups at the bucket off of defense. But, tight-knit group, too. A lot of those kids have played together in football and baseball and had some success in the last year or so that I think they're going to enjoy playing together, and that'll create at least good chemistry.
That's right. All right, moving on. Our last team to cover, but, again, certainly not least because – Grandview Eagles, I think, are an intriguing team to me, and it starts with this. There's other things we need to talk about, but it starts with another player of the year candidate in Chase Wilson. This is a guy who walks in the gym and can drop 40 almost any time he wants to. Also, just like with the girls, they're hard-nosed, scrappy kids at Grandview, and they play really tough physical basketball. So what are we looking for from Grandview?
I do think that they are going to be an offensive force because Chase obviously piles up the points. The brothers Grimm, John and Tom, combined to average about 11.5 per game. John Grimm especially was becoming a threat as a shooter.
Yep.
The question becomes actually with them, who does all the little things? Because David Creeth, as a senior last year, averaged almost 9 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2.5 steals per game. He seemed to be a magnet to the basketball. He found it everywhere. They're going to need guys that will be physical in rebound, that will hustle on defense and all that to set up the offense that I think is already in place. I will say Tim Edwards is in a position, or Terry Edwards is in a position where, kind of like Herculaneum, he played so many guys last year. He got guys minutes to where they're close to being the most experienced team in the conference.
I think two of those kind of tough guys like David Creeth, Ryan Rubel, Eric O'Neill, assuming they're playing basketball again this year, could maybe fill that gap there. But I think Grandview will be an improved basketball team this season on the small side.
They were in a lot of close games last year, too. 3-18 really doesn't talk about how well I think they played at times.
And guard play is so important, and they have good, experienced guards now at this point.
Yes, sir.
So there we go. So it should be a good side. JCA small boys should be competitive this year, and we're done talking about them. But we'll be right back in just a couple minutes to talk about the large school, starting with the girls. And you are watching Main Street Sports on Livestream STL. We will be right back.
We are here for the health and well-being of Jefferson County.
We are here at county schools, private schools, and Jefferson College to serve students.
We are here providing mental health services for children and adults.
Providing dental care, doctor visits, wellness exams, and immunizations at our school-based health centers.
Still respond to a demand for COVID vaccines and testing at ComTree clinics.
Join 1 in 20 residents in the county.
We are here.
We are here.
We are here.
We invite you to become a member of the ComTree family tree.
Mama's on the Hill, home of the original toasted ravioli. For reservations, gift cards, and banquet and catering inquiries, contact them at 314-776-3100, located at 2132 Edwards in St. Louis, Missouri. Check them out on the web on mamasonthehill.com. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram for exclusive holiday offers.
Does your financial advisor take the time to really listen to you? Is your financial strategy personalized for you and your family? Will your financial advisor be there as your life and financial situation changes? Hi, I'm Scott Seek, your local Edward Jones financial advisor. When we work together, we'll focus on what's important to you. We'll create a personalized financial strategy backed by our advice, tools, and resources to help you reach your goals. And we'll partner to help your strategy stay on track, no matter what happens. Contact me today at 636-937-8081. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This live stream STL has been a huge asset for Jefferson County sports, in my opinion. I mean, getting these athletes the camaraderie that they're out there and people can see them. I mean, to be honest with you, I got a call from a coach yesterday about one of my athletes that said that they saw some of her games on live stream STL.
Awesome.
So, I mean, that right there instilled to me that this is important. You know, this is important for those kids. And so, you know, I think it's great, and I wish you guys the best. You know, and if you're out there and you want to sponsor, this is a great opportunity for you know, kids to support kids of our local kids and get them support and get them acknowledgement out there, because we have a lot of great athletes in this county.
We appreciate that. And at the end of the day, our mission is much the same as your missions, coaches, to help shine a light on these kids and get them exposure and get their name out there and help them. And if they can advance, they're better off, we're better off as a community, and that's why we're here.
And we are back here. Before I kick this back over to Lee, we're going to talk a little bit about what we've got going on. Basketball starts tomorrow night for us over here. Courtside basketball here. Boys action here Friday at 7 o'clock. We'll go live about 6:45. Bayless takes on Herculaneum. That'll be our matchup tomorrow night. So jump on our website there at livestreamstl.tkdssports.com to check that out. And we'll have that link, if you haven't checked it out, on our Facebook page as well. So that is Friday night. Saturday, we have the girls' Amped Lifestyle Shootout down at the Farmington Civic Center. That's going to be put on by St. Paul Lutheran. And so check that out there. That will be only on our app, the TKDS app for Roku, for mobile, and for Fire Stick. So that is subscription only. That's what they wanted to have that set up. So you may want to check out that link as well. And get subscribed early on that. So check that out. And it's going to be some great matchups too. We'll throw up the teams here: Farmington, Herculaneum, Lutheran South, St. Pius, Sikeston, Vashon, West County, St. Genevieve, Scott City. All of these teams. It's a vast, wide array, so it's going to be a great showing from St. Louis all the way down to Southeast Missouri. So check that out. That is the Amped Lifestyle Shootout, and then finally Monday evening, 6:45 again. That'll be our courtside basketball opening night for Herculaneum girls. Windsor comes to town there. That's again 6:45 for the pregame. So check that out, and we will break away here and go. Take it right back in here to Coach Lee Richardson. Coach, take it away, my friend.
Ray, can I come watch that Vashon game?
Yeah.
All
I
right.
think you're going to be calling that game.
Oh, okay. Even better.
Yeah.
Even better. I saw them at the end of last year. That's a tough team, and Farmington's a good girls team, but that'll be a good matchup. And West County Sikeston, I think I have too. So
absolutely.
A lot of good matchups, and, of course, Herculaneum from here locally kicking it off. But we're going to kick off talking about the large school girls, kind of our team-by-team thoughts and predictions a little bit, and we'll start with the defending champion, Perryville Lady Pirates. And I think they have a mix of some nice returning players and younger players. Perryville looks like they're still going to be in the mix at the top this year, Nathan.
It's kind of funny. The best defensive team in the league has won it each of the last 2 years, and that's been Perryville. They're a team that does kind of grit and grind you into 30 to 40-point games, but they play so well on that end that it's made up for even when they've had players like Leah Bierich around to where that if they've had bad offensive nights, they'll hang in it every night because of how they play on the defensive end. So trying to replace some of the offense from last year obviously is a big question, but they're another team. They'll be in it for all 4 quarters because they'll get the stops they need.
Sierra Ehlers is back. Their point guard, Schnurbush, is back. And the player that really intrigued me when we saw them last year was this freshman forward, Brooklyn Mole. She's about 6 feet tall. And we go back to what we were saying about Annabelle Wakeland and kind of her skill set. Kind of had that athleticism and skill set. She can do a lot of different things. Very impressed with her, and I think she's going to step up. Freshman to sophomore, big jump for players.
Yeah, they have always allowed their kids to do a little bit of everything and try a little bit of everything on offense, even if it hasn't always worked. So wouldn't be surprised if they're a versatile team and if Brooklyn makes them one that's a little more of a threat on that end.
Yep. Looking forward to that. And then, they also play a very tough schedule. JCA large side, there's only 5 schools. So they play a very tough schedule out of conference as well, and I think that prepares them well for in-conference play. But the other conference team that may be at the top with them is one that had a very good year last year and has some very good players. One in particular we'll talk about, I'm sure, and that's the Festus Lady Tigers.
Yeah, and I think they were the best team in the conference in the second half of the year. I was talking to their head coach, Steve McFarland, the other day. You have to remember that they lost 5 of their first 6. They had a pause in the middle of their season due to COVID-19. But after that 1-5 start, they just found a way to get it done. Yeah, there were a lot of close games mixed in there, but they found a way to win games at the end. Won 9 of their last 12, I think, before losing to a very good North County team in districts. Right. The biggest reason for that, of course, being Josie Allen. What a debut she had as a sophomore. I think it was leading the team in scoring, assists, steals. Might have almost led them in rebounding, too. She was excellent. 42-point game at one point at the very end of the year in an overtime win over Festus. I'm so curious to see what it looks like with a full year under her belt because she missed all of her freshman year with injury.
Right.
What does that second full offseason look like for her? And the fact that they're also going to add an all-conference level talent from 2 years ago in Kinsey Benak to the roster after she missed all last year due to injury. Steve McFarland feels like it's not just that they're going to be good enough to win the league, to dethrone Perryville. He thinks that they are going to make strides and have a chance to compete with really good teams come postseason time as well.
Yeah, and we won't know district composition for a little while, but if you're still put back in, say, North County's district, that's still going to be a tough chore, but they should be better. Emily Holt is back, I believe, as well, and Josie Allen, again, reigning player of the year and probably the favorite to repeat. And you said, too, with knee injuries, that second year back, it usually, and now that was kind of the old thing we used to say about him, but that second year back, you could see her fully at 100% now.
Yeah, the thing that I think will make Festus really fascinating and also really, really good is if they get better as a perimeter shooting team. They got a couple of players like Maya Courtois coming back who are willing to let it fly from three. They just haven't been consistent.
Yep.
If they get to that place, look out, because they hustle on defense. They can create a lot of havoc with the athletic guard play that they have. They got a post player in Lily Nickman they feel like is going to make a leap this year. I think they're as set up as they've been in a while.
So that's Perryville and Festus, two tough teams at the top. Let's talk about Hillsboro. Could Hillsboro make a run? Saw Hillsboro play at Festus late last year. Very impressive game there. Good post player in Dylan Day, and I like the job that Coach Hubbard is doing with them. Can Hillsboro, very young team, a lot of returning talent, can they make that jump and maybe compete with the teams at the top?
Yeah, it was kind of funny. They had a fair few seniors on that roster last year, and they were just trying to figure out still what to do. And then Dylan Day showed up and was a force offensively down low. And that is where I think they'll go first and foremost, is to making sure that she's a better offensive player than she was last year when she was kind of raw and she was beating you because of the size that she has. If she takes steps forward and they can find a way to replace some older players in the perimeter at least, they will definitely make strides. You're right. They battled in all three games that they had with Festus last year, and I think that's going to be one of the premier rivalries this year inside the conference.
Hillsboro Festus always is, right? So, okay, moving on. Windsor, and we talk about guard play being so important. They have a really, really talented guard coming back in Reagan Daly. She's going to be a junior this year, all conference as a freshman and a sophomore. Now, there are some losses there. I believe Piper Montgomery moved on. And but you start with your best player returning. There should be some pieces to build around her and compete on the large girls side, right?
They were such an old team last year that Reagan Daly came off the bench at times to do what she did offensively. And Kim Schmidt, who was the head coach last year, I think they have a new one this season, said Reagan is still growing and still learning, and I have these older players who I trust and I can put out there, and then I have this player that can explode at any point offensively. If Reagan Daly is a more consistent shooter, look out, because she was already somebody that could hit the dagger jump shots for you and make big offensive plays happen. And, I think she's got a chance to be a really special player this year.
And we'll see Windsor on Monday night at Herculaneum, so that'll be a nice little contrast and be able to see what these teams are doing early, a large playing down at the small Herculaneum. And it should be a good matchup, I think, on Monday evening. Finally, on the large girls' side, we have DeSoto. And I got to admit, going in, I know they lost Cameron Paley, who was all-conference for them last year. But I'm a little bit in the dark on DeSoto because it's one of these few teams that I did not get to see last season. And they were competitive late last year, some wins. They actually got a win versus Perryville and Festus. But I think they lost quite a bit as well. So what does DeSoto bring back to the table to stay competitive as they were last season at times?
The reason they hung in those games is defense. They did a very good job of getting stops consistently. Sam Ross has done an excellent job of making sure that they play hard on that end, because even with an older team led by Cameron Paley last year, they did struggle to get buckets. And so that'll be the thing I think he leans on this season with a very young team is how many stops can we get? How many easy baskets can we get? And does that get us into a tight game in the last 3 minutes or so of the fourth quarter?
And this game is not on Livestream STL. However, they do open tomorrow evening at St. Pius. St. Pius will be without Coach Portell for a game while he's coaching up his soccer team in the Final Four. And so that'll be a really good test early for DeSoto girls.
Yeah, fascinated to see what they're able to do there, and maybe they can find a way to sneak in a road victory and really make a statement to start the year.
So Josie Allen, reigning player of the year. Are there any other candidates we think maybe could maybe challenge her for that award this season?
I think if Dylan Day has an even better offensive year, it's a possibility, because she did come on but ended up averaging about 12 points a game. So I think if she has a big year, maybe Brooklyn Mall shows up and has a huge year for Perryville and is a huge key to their success. Maybe Reagan Daly steps up and has a bigger offensive year, because these are players that, they were either showing us flashes of what they could do, or they were good, but they averaged maybe 11, 12 points a game. Josie Allen last year got 17 a game to go with doing everything for Festus. If she's even better, she could be a 20-10 kind of guard.
Right.
So it'll be fascinating to see who else has a big year, because it just feels like as long as everything is on a forward momentum track for Josie, she's going to walk away as one of the best players that program has ever seen.
And I think it's exciting, too. Large and small side girls, you're seeing more go and playing at the next level, playing at higher levels at the next level. And I think we're looking at a crop right now that is going to have a lot of college coaches wanting to see them play as we move forward. And so very competitive last year, and it looks like it should be pretty competitive again this season.
Yeah, I'm ready for some of these potential duels, just in terms of these, quote-unquote star players that are there for some of these teams. I think Daly versus Allen, Day and Allen. Yeah, those will be excellent battles this season.
You bet. All right, large school girls, that's a wrap on them. When we come back, large school boys, we will preview that when we come back to Main Street Sports here on Livestream STL.
We hope you're enjoying tonight's presentation. Take advantage of the HD experience here with Livestream STL by going to the TKDS Sports Network app. Download the app and subscribe by going to videos.tkdssports.com. That'll get you access onto our TKDS Sports app, Roku, and Fire Stick. And thanks so much for your support of Livestream STL.
Guys, I've always wanted to ask you this since you're both pitchers. What's your favorite pitch? It's a fastball? Okay, I know. It's a curveball. No? Okay, well, what's your favorite pitch?
Oh, yeah. Spitball.
The Main Street Sports Show. You never know what we're going to throw at you.
Petalin Pie, bringing wood-fired Neapolitan-style pizza, Italian wines, cold beer and soda, as well as Trek, Diamondback, and Redline bicycles to the Twin City area. Petalin Pie is a great spot to start and end your rides. Get your bikes tuned up, as well as grab an amazing pie and grab it fast. Their 1,000-degree oven can have your pie ready in just about 90 seconds. Petalin Pie at 514 Bailey Road in Crystal City. Stop by or give us a call at 636-638-1080. Ride to eat, eat to ride. A pizza shop serving bicycles. Petalin Pie.
Value. Let's talk about value right now. We here at Livestream STL believe that value is key to keeping our community at a high level. Do us a huge favor today. Talk to your athletic director about the value that Livestream STL brings to your school. Talk to your superintendents as well. Let them know that you want Livestream STL in your schools because we bring high levels of value back to your kids. Thanks again for watching the broadcast. And we are back for the large school boys. We'll get that started with that right away here and shoot it over here to Mr. Lee Richardson. Take it away, my friend.
We're here at Petalin Pie, and boy, that pizza pie sure smells good. It's been tough sitting here for an hour.
I'm ready to grab the leftovers over there and just
I got a piece over here for you.
It is good stuff, and they're big brick oven, and boy, I can't wait to order one and eat it. But thanks to them for hosting us tonight. It's been a lot of fun, Nathan, talking about hoops, and excited for this season. We still got one more part of the JCA conference to talk about, and of course that's the large school boys. And we're going to kick it off with, not to go in any particular order, but I think what most people consider is the favorite to win that side this season, and that is the Festus Tigers. And what a bunch of depth and returning talent that the Festus Tigers bring back for Coach Jason Therrell.
I remember seeing a tweet, I think it was maybe only a week or two ago, from Cole Rickerman, who said, we've got that connection on the court too, and it's It's video of him throwing an alley-oop to Armand Branch, just in case you didn't think they were great in football. Now they're coming back to basketball, where Armand has slowly but surely morphed into one of the best players in the county. He was just a tremendous point guard this last year. A lot of bounce for a kid who's maybe scraping 6 foot. Cole can obviously step outside and shoot to go with being a scoring player, rolling to the or taking off and going to the basket. The underrated aspect of this team, I think, is Colin Winehouse coming back for his senior season, because he's an excellent three-point shooter. And when he got hot, that was another guy who could go out there and put 40 on, and put 25 or 30 on you really, really quickly. They are going to have to replace the size of that team up front from a year ago. But Eric Roos transferring over from North County, it looks like, is going to be a part of the varsity team. And if DeMarion Anderson ever gets healthy again, he was so good 2 years ago when he was out there it is set up so well for this team to be a real force, considering, they split the conference title last year. They lost in the district semifinals. You could say they came up short. They went 19-6. They were still really good last year, and I don't see any reason why they can't be great again this year.
So during our Main Street Sports standout show after last basketball season, I made the case for Armand Branch as Player of the Year. No disrespect to, of course, Jordan Mertens at DeSoto, Sonny Amabile at Windsor, which we'll talk about his loss in a minute for them. And I believe the award did go to Sonny in the end. But Armand Branch, he showed all kinds of flashes as a freshman. And then what a step forward he made last year. And he was never better than when they played state champion South Iron down the Christmas tournament. I played one of the best games I saw a point guard play all last year at any level. And to think that now he's a junior and he has all that strength and physical maturity, and also Cole Rickerman, who's a senior, and you just hit a different level physically as a junior, and then definitely as a senior. And as you mentioned, that inside piece. Now, if you have Royce in there, the big body banging around, DeMarion Anderson, Coach Therrell says he looks like he's going to be healthy and ready to go. That's a nice 1-2 punch inside. You also mentioned Winehouse. How about Connor Westhoff? It seems like Connor, either Winehouse or Westhoff, was hitting 5 or 6 threes in the game. It was like they took turns. And if one didn't quite feel it that night, the other one brought it.
I was about to say, I did one game last year. There was Windsor and Festus in the second half of the year where Sonny Amabile went out, did his thing, 25, 30 points. Connor Westhoff comes down the floor, knocking down threes left and right, and he had 30 before the night was over. Yeah, it's a wild thing to think about, but they do possess 4 players who are guards, basically, that are all capable of 20 points any given night, and that is before you get to the fact that Jason Therrell is going to preach defense first. You don't get on the floor unless you play well and you hustle on that end. And guys like Armand especially, they got so good at on-ball defense last year.
As a former coach, I really like Coach Therrell, the way he approached pressure last year. I won't give it away, Coach, what you did. I'll let them figure it out on their own. But that should be even more effective. More athleticism out there, more experience out there, reading angles and things like that. If they can create even more offense, they're a great offensive team to begin with. From increased or better defense, and now this year they have those legitimate inside, rim protectors and finishers at the other end. I think it's going to be a really tough job for anybody on the large side to stop them in the conference race.
Yeah, 2 years ago when DeMarion Anderson was healthy, he was close to averaging a double-double.
Right.
By the end of the season as a sophomore, Cole Rickerman was averaging double figures. You could see end of 2019, I guess, or 2020 it was, they were rounding into form as a really good team. It's why they had the success they did last year. And I feel like they're only progressing upwards. The loss they took at the end of last year was to a great Farmington team, and they were very, very close to being that good. I don't see any reason why they can't get to that place again this year.
Right, and a couple things to look forward to. Coaches aren't, hanging their hats necessarily on, this many wins, that kind of thing. Would expect them to maybe, definitely be a 20-win team. But more than that, I think they're going to compete at the Christmas tournament this year and have a legit shot of being a top 2-3 seed there and maybe winning that. And then also, like you said, we don't know what districts exactly will look like. But I think they're definitely, no matter how they shake out, they should be a threat in their district wherever they go. And again, as we said, probably the favorite to win the large boys.
Yeah, they don't open until after Thanksgiving. But then the week after that, the Steikhorst Invitational in Hillsboro, I'm going to be there all that week, and I'm already queued up. I want to see what they look like right away, because if the raw version of them, the just getting in shape version, is out there, winning handily, scoring 65 or more points or 60 points or more every night, watch out. They're going to be fun.
Open with Northwest, and then a big test on December 3rd before the Stike Horse tournament at Park Hill Central, who's going to be a great team this year down the Mineral area, so in the MAAA, excuse me. And so we'll see. That'll be our first kind of indication of where Festus is going this season. And I think the no matter who wins or loses that game, we're looking at two really good teams there. So that's Festus. Moving on, we'll now talk about Hillsboro. So Hillsboro, Coach Daniel Johnson, great program, great system that he runs there. Last year, a little bit of a down year. Again, kind of suffered a lot of talent losses over the last few years. And this year, they're even dealing with one. They lost Zach Whaley, one of their best scorers last year. The good news is he does have Noah Holland back. And Noah Holland, I think, is just a junior. And we expect probably he's going to score a boatload of points. They're still going to be running that tough zone defense that he preaches. What are we looking for from Hillsboro? Can they kind of rebound from a little bit of a down season, maybe a reloading year last year?
You expect them to contend every year in the conference. You expect them to win a lot of games, and then you remember that core group of guys that won or came close to winning a district title a couple of years ago, led by Mark Moore, graduates. They still had 7 seniors on last year's roster. They were actually a pretty old team, and it just took them a while to find their rhythm. So this year it's going to be a little younger, but having a Noah Holland back, I think, changes everything. It was in the Stike Horse tournament last year, which I think was maybe their second game all season, where he exploded for like 40 points and went toe-to-toe with Sonny Amabile of Windsor despite losing the game. Yeah, he has terrific bounce. He was out here throwing down dunks and coming up with block shots before the year was over. They got a 6'4" post in Kieran Jones that I know they also want to see take big strides because he was turning into a nice player to have on the defensive end. If they can get him as a post threat on offense, that will obviously that was a huge part of their success 2 years ago on their way to making a district championship game. They need an inside-out combination, and we'll see if Kieran is able to emerge in a way that can do that.
Yeah, shout out Marky Moore, playing up at Webster U, and a great player there at Hillsboro. But again, back to Coach Johnson, I think the system is the thing. Everybody there, okay, so they had a little dip last year. Everybody buys into that. It's very effective. He coaches very well to it, and expects the players to find a role within that system. And as I said a minute ago, I think they're definitely going to bounce back. And if there's somebody, I think there's a couple teams that maybe challenge Festus, certainly in individual games. So I think Hillsboro will be one of them this season.
Yeah, they played pretty much everybody close in the last 10, 15 games of their schedule. I don't see any reason why that won't be the case all year long this year.
No doubt. And now moving on to our third large school boys team, we're going to talk about Windsor, the Windsor Owls. And we got Coach Ryan McCarthy back again this year, I think for his second season. And saw them a couple times last year and liked the direction of things they're going. A little bit of coaching stability there. They finally, got somebody there, a second year in a row. What are we looking at, though? Because I just found out that their big man from last year is not going to return. But I think there's a lot of shooting, a lot of guards, and yeah, I guess we have to mention Sonny Amabile is gone, so you got to replace, everything that he brought. You just turn the game over to him, and you don't have to worry about so many things. Well, now you have some concerns there, but I do think there are a lot of young guards coming up on the Windsor side.
It was so funny to watch Sonny play and then hear college scouts turn around and say, yeah, he'll be a terrific kind of, game manager pass for his point guard when he was out here hanging 20 points on everybody every night and just got so good as a shooter. They will be fascinating on the offensive end because it's not just that Sonny is gone, but no Logan Cheney means a guy who was very, very close to averaging a double-double in his junior season. So they had a very good inside-out mix. Got a lot of big, long athletes like Nolan Hurth and A.J. Patrick, guys that can move around, play all over. And
there's a Hartman there, too. They seem like they have a Hartman, a very athletic 6'3", 6'4" Hartman who can shoot the basketball every season. There's another one coming up.
Yeah. These guys have proven that they can, be athletic. And that'll obviously, I think, translate into defense. That's probably where they'll hang their hat while they wait to see if somebody can step up and be an offensive threat. But, Coach McCarthy got those guys to play hard and intense every night last year in a way that I feel like is going to show up again this year.
Yeah, definitely. And so that's Windsor. And so we think Windsor be in the mix there and probably top 2 or 3 for sure. Moving on, we're going to go to an intriguing team. because of how much they lost, and that's the DeSoto Dragons. Coach Zeb Hammond is back. Coach can be a fiery guy, I know, because I took a way underdog team in the halftime locker room at a Christmas tournament a few years ago. We walked by, and he was blistering my ears as we went by. Of course, they come out second half and tore the hide off of us. Coach Hammond is a competitive guy, and he's going to find a way. But having said that, how do you replace Mertens, one of the best players, big post last year, Aiden Blair, Krodinger, Fisher, and so on? These are heavy losses for the DeSoto Dragons.
They had such great versatility because Nick Krodinger and Levi Fisher, were kind of tweeners. They were kind of guard forward hybrids. They were big and long. Aiden Blair was the biggest pest in the league last year defensively. Created a lot of points off steals. And then you had the biggest bully inside in Jordan Mertens. You really do almost entirely start over as a result because only a handful of guys got minutes off the bench. There were a few seniors that rotated in there. The two most experienced players, I think, Cody Petty and Drake Turnbow, have to go out and play really well right away. Cody was a point guard who could do a little bit of everything. I love watching him play as a defender. He's a physical rebounder, physical defensive guy, so he could create steals. Hadn't ever really emerged as a big offensive player or a shooter. They're going to need that. Yeah. Drake Turnbow has flashed a little bit of shooting as well, and they're going to need that on the offensive end. They will play tough on defense, and they've got some athletes that I think they'll be able to make things happen on that end. It is going to be a question of replacing the offense because Aiden Blair averaged almost 20 a game, not just because of all the steals. He got much better as a shooter and a scorer last year.
And these are the cycles of teams. Sometimes you go through this and you're kind of rebuilding for the future. And so we'll see also what kind of the younger players for DeSoto look like. And we know one thing, that they're going to play hard for Coach Zeb this year.
Yeah, they show up and always just seem to play really terrific defense. They took one of the best teams in the entire area, North County, down to the wire in the district semifinals last year. And you'll hear everybody say it was because they found ways to get stops on a team that normally shot the ball really well. So I expect them to come out and play some real good defense from the get-go this year.
All right, you bet. And finally, last but not least, Perryville, the Perryville Pirates, the boys team. Now, this is a team, they didn't have a lot of wins last year, but they did play hard. They had a first-year coach in Richard Dunn, who we saw last year, and I thought he's doing a nice job with the talent that he has there. But they lost a lot of seniors. Now, sometimes, and I like the seniors that they had, Dawson Camden, Trey Scruggs, some of those guys. But I also like some of the younger players, and they have some younger size. Ethan Blythe and Turbrack, the I believe was one of the tall kids. And their JV was very competitive as well. So what do you think about Perryville this year?
I think they're going to be one of the true unknowns because, like you said, they didn't have as much success as they would like, and yet they sustained a fair bit of loss, 6 seniors in total graduating off that roster. So I'm really curious to see what they look like when they run a younger bunch out there for the first time getting varsity minutes. And obviously when you lose Dawson Camden, you lose your leading scorer there. What do they do on the offensive end? Because even as well as he played on that end, they've struggled offensively the last couple of years. So they're going to need to find somebody that can get them buckets consistently.
You bet. And so Perryville, we'll watch them and see if they can kind of grow in Coach Dunn's second year there. He's got lost his assistant coach, used to coach at Potosi, Brett Hale. Brett Hale, his assistant coach last year anyway. A good asset to have on the sideline with you there as well. So that's large school boys, and I think we talked about some of the key players, Branch, Rickerman, Noah Holland. I don't know if anybody else, maybe could work their way into that top of the, player of the year kind of conversation. But that's a really good collection of talent.
Yeah, I think there's some all-state level players in the conference this year, and I'm really excited to see how it plays out. Like I said, that Steighorst Invitational is great because you get 4 of the 5 teams in the league matched up right away within the first the third week of the year. So it's going to be fascinating to see what those teams look like right out of the gate because really. I thought for the most part, the way these teams played in the Steighorst indicated how their season would go. DeSoto was played very well and should have probably beat Central in the semifinals at Park Hills. Hillsboro, it just didn't break their way in those games. And you saw Windsor go out there and let Sonny Immobile do his thing. So I imagine this time around, too, it'll be a good indication of how good these teams can be.
Well, that's our large school boys wrap up, and just it sets up to be a really exciting year. And we know all the fans are going to be excited to pack the stands again and really cheer their teams on. So, Ray, we have covered small girls and boys, large girls and boys. We hope everybody's enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I want to do this. I got all three of us on here. We're gonna do the part of the interruption setup here. So here we go.
Get ready.
We've kind of teased a little bit here for Player of the Year. We're going to start with the small school girls. And Nathan, who you think is going to be?
I will take Annabelle Wakeland as the oldest player in the league that had so much success. If you can shoot better than 50% from three as a sophomore who is just being told for the first time to use your jump shot, I think you can develop into a really nice player. So I think Annabelle is going to go out and have a terrific junior season.
Wakeland, but if Capozzo takes those steps, like we said, scores a lot more, she averages 5 steals a game. I mean, just has that kind of devastating impact on the other team from the defensive end, turns it into scoring. I think Capozzo, if St. Pius wins that small girls, could be in the conversation.
I'm on that fence with both of them, too, at the same time, so I'll agree with both of you there. Moving on to the small school boys. This, to me, I think is a little bit harder. This one's probably the hardest of the 4. So, Nathan, what do you think?
That's why you made me go first.
I know, right?
So you can sit and think about it.
I'm waiting for you, bud.
You know what? I loved watching him play so much. I feel like if he just makes a little bit of a leap as a scorer, Gabe Watkins is the best pure player in the league this year. Best pure basketball player.
That's who I'm going with, too.
It's, if you haven't had a chance to watch this kid play number 25, do it.
He's wearing number 10 this year.
Yeah.
He's wearing my old number.
Yeah,
Just saying.
Which means he's going to be great.
Watkins, number 10. Look for him for Herculaneum. Just going to say, go ahead.
All right. I love Gabe. I love his game.
Yeah.
I don't know, almost like Armand Branch. Some of you felt he was kind of a year away last year. Maybe he's a year away from that honor this year.
And he's got time.
But he's going to be up there, no question about it. I'm going to go with – I would pick a St. Pius player because I think they're going to have a very strong season, but they're so balanced.
Right.
It may be hard to kind of pick through that to pick an MVP type of guy. Right. So I'm going to say the guy who's going to set up to average over 20 a game, and that's Chase Wilson, who if he can just be a little more consistent, lead them to some more wins, I'll say Chase Wilson. I think Drew Brees would also have a chance if he shoots the lights out this year.
There you go. Okay, moving over to the large school girls. It's Josie Allen.
It's hard to see somebody dethroning her unless somebody makes a big leap this year. That's the thing I was kind of saying is
it's Josie Allen's to lose. Let's just put it this way.
Yeah, that's the thing I was saying. If Dylan Day, if Reagan Daly, if they have a jump this year, they have a 16, 17 point a game year on offense. That's great. Josie might average 22, 7, 4, and 5 this year. She's
triple doubles incoming. Josie Allen for me 3. And way too early prediction for 22-23 Brooklyn Mole.
Yeah,
Perryville.
I like that. The dark horse from coming for next year possibly. And we round out here with Player of the Year for large school boys.
I thought last year it was one of the most fraught Player of the Year competitions I'd ever seen because you could have made the case for Aiden Blair. You could have made the case for Jordan Mertens, who ultimately wins it, and you could definitely have made the case for Armand Branch. I think
and Sonny Emmaville.
Yeah, Sonny for sure. Noah Holland scored enough. Zach Whaley did a little bit of everything for Hillsboro. I will say, while I think guys like Connor Westhoff and Colin Winehouse will make a jump in a way that their stats will kind of reflect like, in any other year, we talk about them being great and the same as Cole Rickerman. That's the thing. If Armand Branch makes a jump, he's going to be one of the best players in the state this year. So I think it'll be Armand's award to lose this year.
Yeah, and I was the one who's, kind of pushing for Armand as a sophomore. So I'm going to definitely say Branch as well. And I think Noah Holland makes that big jump this year and kind of that classic, maybe he's not a Pinkley, or more. He's kind of in between those two guys, but he's going to be a star for Hillsboro this season if all goes well.
Yeah, I go with Armand Branch definitely being his to lose, and maybe a Holland as well, So
Agreed.
I agree with you guys there. So very, very cool. Guys, thanks so much. Lee stepping in and kind of taking the reins for
I'm no Jeff Whitener, but I tried.
And then, Nathan's always been great coming over here, and we'll see you soon down the road here next to each other for, covering the radio side of high school basketball, and it's
Okay,
always
Jeff
fun.
in the house.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
you
bring
go.
more pizza
Yeah,
when you do that.
We will make sure that. Hey, you know how those tournaments go, right? There's
Yeah.
always pretty decent green rooms.
Yes,
so
there
it
is.
What it is.
Yes.
It is. That's Nathan Gertz over here from KJFF. Thanks again for watching Main Street Sports. We wrap up here, and we're ready to rock and roll. We'll see you tomorrow night over at Herculaneum High School as we'll be rocking. Totally rocking. Here it is right here, courtside basketball, boys action. 6:45 is our pregame, Bayless at Herculaneum, and then over the weekend we'll have the AMP Lifestyle Shootout. That'll be all day long. We start, and I'll throw this up here real quick. Let me get myself back up there. There's the schedule right here. We don't start shooting until 1 o'clock, so it's 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5:30, 7 o'clock, 8:30. We have 5 games. I hope my batteries will last. So let's just put it that way, right? I got plenty of batteries. But check that out. Again, this is just on the app, so it is a subscription-based only. So jump over to our website, and hopefully I have that here as well. Here, where's the website? Yeah, livestreamstl.tkdssports.com. Check out the website. You'll see it on our schedule. For all of us here at Livestream STL, thanks so much for watching Main Street Sports. We will see you again soon. Have a great evening.